And we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my counterpart and co-host, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Blake, because we are so close. We are so close to the college football playoff. It's kicking off this Friday. I couldn't be doing better when I was reminded of that this morning.
You know, I feel like us as a college football community got, and I talked about this last night, but got a little bit of a break. There wasn't a lot of high pristine games. The portal didn't really shake up. There were some coaching carousel things that we had to discuss. I mean, I'm sure I say that, but then I think about Sharon Moore, but I think everybody knows what I mean here in reference to time being spent consuming college football. But, Joe, you are correct. As the playoffs in the first round start off this Friday, we'll touch on a lot of that this week. We'll kind of go over the games as we did last season. We'll go back over them today. But, Joe, a flurry of quarterbacks, plural, are set to enter the portal, and it's starting to send the portal world into a little bit of chaos, which is where we're going to start the show off with tonight.
I know that we're going to get deeper into that segment. I will say this. I don't know if I forgot the timing of when guys go into the portal or not. I thought that after the regular season ended, or even after the championship games, that more entrants would have been announced. I was kind of shocked that there was this delay, and I was to the point where I was thinking to myself,
until January 2nd.
I know it's not, but I felt like it would happen a lot sooner over the past couple of years. And at one point, I was starting to think to myself, like, man, are we just going to have a situation where most guys don't transfer this year? And today it was flipped on its head. It was completely flipped on its head. If this was the beginning, I can't even imagine what's going to happen after some of these teams lose in the college football playoff. I can't even imagine what's just going to happen over the next couple of days once guys make final decisions on if they're going to declare for the upcoming NFL draft or not. Brendan Sorsby is one of those guys that we're going to talk about. We talked about how crazy the coaching carousel was. There's a chance that this portal class ends up being even crazier.
Yeah, well, you can't have this much coaching turnover and think that the portal's not going to go nuts. Now, when we get to Dylan Raiola, I'm going to say something that I might regret later in the future.
Oh, no.
Not about him. Not about him at all. Okay. I'm just going to continue to lean in on Matt Rule's a horrible coach.
Oh, yeah. That I don't disagree with.
I'm going to continue to lean in on it, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Joe, we'll get to the portal. We'll get to who we believe is going to win the national title here tonight. So a really massive show. Who are you and I both picking to win the national title here? And who's a dark horse in this playoff field that you and I both think that can go on a run and win a national title? We'll get to that here tonight as well. But we need all of you to do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button down below if you're on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. Send it to all your friends that you know that the playoffs here, college football playoff is here. Tell them to sub because we'll have a lot of interactions. Joe, I'm sure we're going to do something Friday night after the game, I would assume, right?
Oh, yeah, I forgot to touch bit. Yes. So, we're doing housekeeping in front of everybody. Yes, we're going to record immediately after on Friday like last year.
There you go. So we'll be, I don't know if we'll be live or we'll record something right after the game on Friday, but we will be here. So send that to all of your friends. If you're on Facebook, hit that like, share, follow, and all that good stuff. And wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Every Ruffino and Joe show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. Use your mobile device in doing so. We just mentioned the playoffs of college football is here. Joe, the NFL, I know we don't talk about, but my goodness, we had a flurry of injuries yesterday. It's the first time since 1998 that we do not have a playoff or not going to have a playoff with Manning, Mahomes, and or Tom Brady in it. I was 8 years old when that happened, by the way. That's a long time ago, Bubba. I was 8 when this happened. So there's a lot of things that you can bet with our good partners and friends over at FanDuel. We encourage you to do that. If you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, go to FanDuel.com/RG for more details. All right, Joe, let's get moving into it as everybody's hitting the like and share and subscribe button as of right now. But let's start off with this. Joe, the current transfer portal has gotten moved back to January the 2nd, but it hasn't stopped guys from announcing that they intend to go into the transfer portal. Today, as what was kind of the real push and start of what the transfer portal is going to be, there was a flurry of quarterbacks that entered the portal, like Dylan Raiola, DJ Lagway, Brennan Sorsby, Sam Levitt, which I guess we kind of already knew, but officially it's kind of being announced that he is going to be in the transfer portal as well. And then Aidan Chiles, the quarterback at Michigan State, along with a lot of other players that did enter the portal today that we may get to at a later time. Mm-hmm. But there was a massive flurry of quarterbacks, and I don't know where to start it other than the two biggest names right now. I guess you could even throw Sam Levitt in there. But DJ Lagway and Dylan Raiola hitting the portal, I guess, what are your thoughts on both?
Well, the craziest part about this is I remember in like the middle of the 2024 season when we were looking at and we were watching Dylan Raiola shine. We were watching DJ Lagway shine. And everybody that's just a football fan was saying, man, that 2027 NFL draft class is going to be special. These two kids are going to be really, really special. Dylan Raiola had a really underrated season this year. He ended with a very brutal injury. I think a lot of people were critical of Raiola with a limited cast around him. He did some great things. He is a very gifted player. DJ Lagway was completely thrown into a bad spot. The 2 years that he started, or the year and a half really, he was basically asked to do everything. It felt like there was an expectation that he had to do everything to keep them alive in games. And him being banged up, missing the preseason, we discussed this, impacted his ability to be able to hit the ground running this year, and everything really snowballed. Like, I don't want to hear anyone really frame these two kids as busts for leaving. I don't want anyone to make it seem like these kids aren't incredibly significantly impactful, because they are. These guys could go on and have a Bo Nix or a Jaden Daniels type of a step in for a team where they last program that they were with, nothing really happened. And then by their senior year, they're a Heisman finalist. They are that gifted. Just in terms of my thoughts on these two guys and where they end up, I feel like Dylan Raiola at Oregon would be perfect. The next transfer quarterback who comes in. And God, DJ Lagway at Texas Tech would be awfully intriguing as well. Or if he did end up
I don't think he's going to Texas Tech.
Yeah, there's been a lot of kind of up and down outcomes for where he could end up. I was about to say LSU.
Brennan Sorsby's girlfriend just committed to Texas Tech in volleyball, so I'm going to leave that there.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
LSU would be intriguing, though. I think that LSU would be very intriguing.
Here's my thing about DJ Lagway that bothers me a little bit, and I'm going to have to push back on him, and I know this makes people upset. But this kid's going to get paid a ridiculous amount of money regardless of where he goes. It's being reported, Joe, by Chris Hummer and Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports that there was a meeting that went down with Buster Faulkner, with John Summerall, and DJ Lagway. And basically, they told him to go and compete, and then his reaction to that was hitting the portal. Not sure how I really look at that situation. They told him that they weren't going to buy into him and that he needed to go and compete, and then within 12 hours, you're entering the transfer portal? I'm not sure how I would want to react to that. Now,
wait, I'm just saying, would you rather he stay and get beat out and then waste a year?
You're DJ Lagway. You're one of the top quarterbacks. You're supposed to be one of the top quarterbacks in the country. And they said, listen, we don't know you, bud. You got to go out there and compete. And then he hits the portal. The way that this went down, the way that it did, I think it's going to rub some people the wrong way. Because it's not as if that, look, I mean, Joe, with all due respect, there was a game this season he got benched. He threw 14 interceptions. He had 19 total turnovers this year. Now, we can say Billy Napier's offense wasn't great. We can talk about the people around DJ Lagway, what have you. 20 turnovers? 20?
He didn't play great. I'm not defending him and saying that
he didn't play great at all. And then, so it's one thing to have something on the field. And then I look off the field and I say, okay, so you have what might be the most brutal thing of all in reference to a coaching turnover and how all of this played out. You pretty much kept Billy Napier there by your play. You were a 55% completion percentage guy last year as a true freshman We all looked past that. But now you turn the ball over 19 times this year, 14 coming via interceptions, and John Summerall being a tough-nosed head coach. We see what Buster Faulkner did at Georgia Tech with Haynes King and how physical, imposing he was and what all he did. And they said, hey, young man, let's go out there and compete. And then within 12 hours, he hits the portal. So when I look at that, do I think that he has all the ability? Does he have a big arm? Yes. Can he have moments where he can be very accurate? Yes. Do I think he's a good decision maker? No, I don't. But he has the abilities that you look for. I know you use this word in your draft stuff. He has the traits that you look for. Traits mean nothing when decision making is subpar. And so I look at all the turnovers. I look at the interceptions. I look at the decision making, and then I look at the decision making off the field. So not only is it on the field, but it's off the field. Again, there's something to be said, was he supposed to just stay? Well, I mean, you're supposed to be one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and you ran. So there's a part of me not saying that I would hate it. I think that, number one, that I think that he is going to garner a lot of attention by a lot of big-time offensive coordinators, Lane Kiffin included, LSU included in that. But I look at this and say, now, with everything that I just mentioned, buddy, what a chance to go and prove everybody wrong. You are one of the most talented quarterbacks in college football. He's got to get better with decision-making. Is there somebody out there that can mold him to be better in that? But he needs to make the right decision on who can lead him in doing it. In reference to Dylan Raiola, the only thing that I would say is you got to drop the Mahomes Act.
But Blake,
you got to drop them.
I know you alluded.
Are you going to turn your ACL now?
No, okay. Blake, but here's the thing, though. You mentioned the Sorsby thing. I have a lot of Texas Tech folks for some reason that there's a couple of burner accounts that I follow that their stuff shows up in my feed, and there's just general conversations about Texas Tech football that's in my feed. And Sorsby seems to be who they think that they're getting. Mm-hmm. But dude, I mean, how do we make this happen? The bit is so ridiculous. How do we get him to Texas Tech? I don't care. I don't care. I need him at Texas Tech. I need him at Texas Tech.
Yourself.
I get that. I'm not trying to be preachy to him. I'm talking about for the bit. I need him at Texas Tech because it would be the funniest possible outcome.
Yeah. So start being yourself. Stop living in the shadow of somebody else. I'm just being dead ass. Look, I don't know where he goes. He's got all the traits. He's coming off a pretty brutal injury here.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of these quarterbacks from 2 seasons ago, I see both of them. I see Raiola in some of the same light. I think that he had a much more accomplished season. He was under a lot more pressure than DJ Lagway was, with far less, bad decisions. But I mean, he's got to let it rip. I think he tries to be too cool. Let it rip. I mean, the air raid system is catch, plant, throw. Catch, plant, throw. And he did a lot of things that maybe he shouldn't have. I got to be real with you. The both of them have a lot that they need to work on. A lot.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why I think the change of scenery. Raiola was better this year than Lagway was. I don't disagree with the premise.
It's far less competition.
Okay. Well,
one had the 57th strength of schedule. The other one had the second. There's a massive difference.
Yeah, and to Lagway's defense, he had a much more complicated, messy situation around him, coaching, firing in the middle of the year, and all of that. I think that as much as you're saying here, it's a concern that he's running away from competition. I don't disagree with it, that not being, I won't downplay that. But at the same time, with how hard it is to find a quarterback as gifted as Lagway, and just to find a quarterback in general, with how hard it is, go in the portal and be guaranteed a starting opportunity. I
mean, with all due respect to John Summerall, though, he took Ratzlaff, who we all thought might not play, and they made a playoff.
But what's your point with that, though?
Well, my point is that he found Mensah, he found Ratzlaff when everybody thought that he couldn't do it. And the last 2 times, one of the quarterbacks he made a playoff with. I got to be real with you. I think that they're trying to change culture at Florida. I think Summerall's trying to change culture. And the number one way that you change culture inside of a locker room is the number one guy that everybody thinks is untouchable gets touched.
Well, this is my point, though, is that Lagway, I respect Lagway for recognizing that the writing was probably on the wall. You just mentioned there that he found 2 guys and turned them into capable starters. Darian Mensah potentially is going to declare for the upcoming NFL draft and could get drafted quite highly. What if he found somebody else unexpected and it's then Summerall's guy? Lagway's not Summerall's guy. Even if Lagway is close in comparison at practice and he's more physically gifted, he's going to not get the benefit of the doubt in that circumstance. So I don't blame him for not wanting to waste a year. And I think to your point, I don't think either side's really at fault. I do not blame Summerall from going, hey, we need to start over. We need to reset, send a message to the locker room. If we think that he needs to compete and he doesn't want to be a part of that, then tough. We're not going to bend to this. And then for Lagway's side, for wanting to go find somewhere to play. I think that Lagway is going to, if he lands in the right situation, be able to build upon this. Do you think that LSU would be his best possible fit, and knowing that you guys are in the search for a quarterback? You don't?
No.
Okay.
Take LSU out of it. Take my coverage of LSU completely out of it.
Okay.
What if he was going to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin? Would you say it's a fit? Because what has Lane's quarterbacks had? Matt Corral could move. Sam Darnold. Jackson Dart could move. Trinidad Chambliss could move. They're all going to play on the run. What does DJ Lagway not do well?
I think he runs well. I think you're mischaracterizing him.
He would be
bigger.
The worst,
he's much
He would
bigger.
be the worst runner of all the quarterbacks Lane has had. And then here's my thing with that. The one true, I would say, pocket guy that Lane's gone and gotten was a gunslinger and a lefty from Hawaii. I mean, Joe, he begged, and we saw the documentary about this with Nick. He begged Nick Saban to start Jalen Hurts. The guy that he went and got when he was at Alabama is a pure runner. I think when I look at Lane, as much as like the Ole Miss games this year that I've gone back and watched, even last year's, the amount of times that Jackson Dart ran was significant. And I think Lane likes utilizing that style of game. I'll give you this. Last year, as an example, when he wanted to run the ball with the quarterback, he put in JJ Pegues to take Dart out. When you go and look at Trinidad Chambliss, I'm actually, because of the quarterback stuff at LSU, guess how many third down conversions Trinidad Chambliss ran on just third down alone? Joe, it was 22 times that he ran for a first down on third down. So I look at that and say, I don't know if that's DJ's game. Here's what I think Lane – well, it's not a think at this point. This is what LSU's doing. He's throwing everything at the wall for quarterbacks, plural. They're going to come down to their couple, and then they're going to go. But they're going to offer every quarterback that they deem worthy that can play for Lane. Every one of them is going to get offered. Every single one of them. I think Sorsby – no, I don't think – it's a whole different situation there. I think Sorsby fits Lane's system more than DJ does. I think in Lane's system, and what I've heard today about the DJ thing, they're going to have to clean up a lot of decision making.
Here's the one thing with Sorsby, by the way, to turn the page here. For anyone who didn't watch Cincinnati football, which we've got a listener base that's a little bit more national oriented, so they might not have been keeping tabs on Sorsby. The dude's gifted. The dude was really, really
special.
Good this year. He
Very
is
special.
He does have a little bit of Jackson Dart in him with being a good athlete, having a good arm. His decision-making tailed off a little bit towards the end of the year, and his performances weren't as good, but he's got a lot of film out there that he's pretty physically gifted. Here's my thing, though. The whole stipulation with him entering the portal that was reported today was that he's waiting for feedback on the NFL. From my understanding, I think that the NFL is very high on him. And I think that this upcoming quarterback class is really bad. And it's why we're seeing Darian Mensah potentially be a player who declares despite
because Arch isn't going, Sellers isn't going,
and Simpson is uncertain if he even declares and decides to go. He's got eligibility. A lot of these guys that were supposed to take
Simpson needs
jumps
to go back. Well, and Garrett Nussmeier failed. So
yeah, and Aller. Aller's another guy.
Drew Aller. Well, and he's also hurt. Like I think somebody would have actually taken a flyer on. I mean, he's still 6'5", 240.
But this is my point: is that someone like Sorsby, who has the tools, but like maybe 75% of the film that you're looking for, an NFL front office, especially maybe a franchise like the Steelers that are picking in the back end of the first round that like really, really need a quarterback, I think are going to communicate that they're interested in him. They need options, and he would be somebody who could be a riser in this upcoming NFL draft. So I'm saying this to say, I think a lot of fan bases are seeing and hearing the buzz for Sorsby and learning more about him. This is kind of my warning. Don't be surprised if he's not on the table. Don't be surprised if this is not an opposite of a Cam Ward where things start to look really, really good and he just decides to declare.
Yeah, look, so I like Sorsby a lot. I think he's one of the most athletic in reference to quarterbacks that entered. I think Sam Levitt would be an interesting conversation. We're going to talk about Sam Levitt next. Mm-hmm. But I think that he would be a very interesting conversation. 18 total rushing touchdowns the last 2 years at Cincinnati. I kind of feel like there's parts of me that wishes that he would have stayed at Indiana with Curt Cignetti just to see what that would have looked like. Regardless of that, though, Sorsby, I mean, the one thing that I think that he can refine is throwing the football vertically. Joe, this season, he's a 61.6% completion percentage guy. You know how I am. I don't think guys, like I think Josh Allen is very rare. Like Josh Allen being a 58% completion percentage guy, I don't think that translates to guys getting better in the NFL. I think it gets worse because windows are tightened. Things are tightened. Now, I don't think that he had a receiving core that could really help him, and that's why he ran the football as much as he did. So maybe, we look at this and go, oh, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. But he's going to have to refine it getting the football and being more accurate. I don't like his throwing motion, to be blunt with you. I don't like his footwork. It's like him and John Mateer are in the same class for me. Highly, highly athletic dudes. But, brother, you got to start setting your feet. Like, you're going to have to start setting your feet and making accurate throws. You can't keep opening up. Baseball coaches will talk about this all the time. Joe, I spent my entire life around them. It's all I grew up around. Throwing coaches and pitching coaches. He's going to have to stop opening up as much as he does and use his lower half. The problem is he's so freaking athletic that we look at him and just say, okay, well, he can get away with it. But you can't get away with it moving forward. I wonder at a place like Texas Tech, if he does stay, as an example, how much more that can be refined in a school and an institution that likes throwing the football around. I'll tell you something. I'm not guessing on this one. Texas Tech is not the school that is the most interested in him right now. As much as people want to admit this, I think Kiffin and company also look at him and say, let's take a deeper look. Not saying he's going there, not saying that they've talked a lot. What I'm telling you right now is that film came on Skip Bertman Drive today, and there were some people in that building like, wait, who is this? Like, who is this? I will just say, I think the kid's very talented. He's got, if he came, Joe, to all of these quarterbacks, Darian Mensah included, maybe not Mendoza, I think all of them need to come back. I think all of them do, because there's parts of their game that they can refine here. I think he's part of it.
The one guy, though, I do want to add to this,
please say Sam
that we
Levitt
mentioned, but we haven't gotten to. Well, Levitt's obviously very gifted, and I think that Levitt, to me, is the better version of John Mateer.
I think he's the better version of Sorsby.
Yeah, I mean, he's the most potential out of any of these like second tier guys that we're talking about that wasn't a former 5-star high big name recruit. He can run, he can improvise. he just was banged up this year, and that kind of hurt things. He could really be one of those players who, if he goes to a Miami, takes them to that next phase that they're trying to get to, this progression that we've seen year over year where they've gotten better and better. Someone like Levitt, I think, can really propel you. And I think that improvisational style gets back to what you had with Cam Ward. But I got to bring up Aidan Chiles in this conversation, Blake.
Okay.
Because, and this is how I want to frame this. If there is a guy that has the bigger spectrum of outcomes for how he plays, the biggest, it is Aidan Chiles. He either goes somewhere and it goes poorly and he gets benched, or he ends up being a rocket
ship. Right.
Yeah, he's going to be a star. I thought that he was wasted being on this nothing Michigan State team that had nobody. He had got one good receiver, and that was it. He was wasted and he was buried. Anyone who wants to question me on that, please go turn on the tape and watch some of his best plays. This dude has the archetype of a Jaden Daniels, a Lamar Jackson. He can freaking run. He's got a good arm. He's very raw. If he goes to a team that knows how to activate that, Blake, man, there is a real opportunity here that we're talking about. Like, who is this kid? Who's this kid that's got his team in the top 10 right now? I think that Aidan Chiles could be that true surprise player in the mix with this that people need to take more seriously.
I don't know his true potential. I don't know what Aidan Chiles can be. I see the traitsy stuff. I see how good he can be as a runner, how physical he can be. I see the big arm, the live arm. I also see a lot of really bad decisions. A lot of really bad decisions. I think that we're seeing right now quarterbacks that play in systems in high school that they're not really reading coverages. Because all of these big armed quarterbacks, what did they all have in common? Raiola had some struggles with decision-making. Lagway had some struggles with decision-making. Chiles has had some struggles with decision-making. I think all of them need to go and learn. I think they need to take this offseason wherever they're going and sit down and just go learn. I can see what you're talking about. You're talking about a hero to zero kind of scenario here where he's just a hero at some other institution and he blasts off and he's one of the best quarterbacks. I could see that. I could also, to what you're saying, see him getting benched. I think we're just seeing a system of guys that don't know what they're seeing. Like a lot of them. And whether it's the money, whether it's they're going in and they're supposed to be able to play early and they don't stay and they don't get a lot of development. Maybe that has a lot to do with it. Joe, I just want to throw this out there because I'm going to use this later too. I wonder what guys like Peyton Manning, as an example, would have been early in his career. What if Twitter was around when he was at Tennessee, when he went 61% completion percentage for 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, or in his junior year when he threw 12 picks, or in his senior year when he threw 11 interceptions? What would we have been saying about him? Like one of the best quarterbacks of all time. What did they all have in common? Joe, all of these top-tier quarterbacks in the NFL right now, what do they all have in common? Boy, all of them seem to stay for their senior years. All of them seem to just continue to come back and get smarter and get reps. I just think that we are going to have to let some of these guys develop. And in reference to Aidan Chiles, he's got a way he needs to go. Got all the traits. Again, I think the theme for me in our discussion here is I just see a lot of really bad decision making.
Well, that's kind of part of this with all these guys is that none of these guys are like fully developed, and there was something that came along that prevented that leap. Now, I do think that a lot of times when guys really hit their stride, it's their junior year. They need to be deliberate. A lot of these guys need to be deliberate about making sure that they pick somewhere that is invested in building them up into playing to the potential that they have. Because, Blake, at the end of the day, there are a lot of guys in the past, I forget what the stretch is of transfer portal quarterbacks that have been Heisman finalists, have been Heisman winners. There are a lot of guys that we can look at that.
Isn't Bryce Young the only one that didn't transfer?
I think so. Blake, if we look back at, like, just to name a couple of names of some guys that were awfully messy, that just people were critical of, that went on to win the award, or at least the finals.
Fernando
Mendoza, Bo Nix was a finalist. Cam Ward was a finalist.
Mm-hmm.
We could keep going, man. There's a lot of these guys that just
all of them have in common.
What do you?
All of them were 4th or 5th year guys. Most of them being 5th year guys. I mean, Bo Nix came back because he had a COVID year. He never redshirted.
That's a good point.
All of them are 5th year dudes. I mean, other than Bryce Young, which that's a completely different scenario. Other than Bryce Young, what do all of them have in common? You got Burrow, that was a 5th year. Jaden Daniels, that was a 5th year. Bo Nix included in that. You have Cam Ward, who was there since the Hoover administration. I mean, he's been in college football longer than TJ Finley has, who's going on his 7th year. So, I mean, again, a lot of these guys have got to start developing. You talked about Ty Simpson earlier. Joe, for the love of God, please go back. For the love of God, please do it. I'll throw this out there to you because I'm wondering how this is going to play out. Do coaches know something that we don't? Meaning, are there not going to be a lot of moves made until Bryce Underwood hits the portal? You know, we talked about this in the coaching carousel. Lane Kiffin's going to set the market. Moves are going to start being made based off of what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin. Does the quarterback market start getting set when Bryce Underwood hits it?
I think that you're onto something here.
I know I'm onto something. I'm not throwing that out there just because I want to be acute and have a hot take. I'm not guessing. I'm going to tell you right now, there are multiple teams in the SEC today that on this little phone right here have said the following, in not so specific order. If that kid goes in there, he's going to set the market. I don't say whatever you want about his stats and what happened at Michigan. His coach was a little preoccupied. He's a little preoccupied with some off-the-field issues. And by the way, all of these quarterbacks in the portal that we're talking about, he kind of had a worse situation than all of them. Like, I look at DJ Lagway as an example. 4 of those guys along his offensive line is going to get drafted. He had some premier receivers, Dallas Wilson included, who didn't do it. Dylan Raiola, with all due respect, you faced a top 50 strength of schedule. Yeah, you faced some tough teams, but not a brutal stretch. I look at Bryce Underwood as an example. Joe, is he going to start setting the market for where a lot of these quarterbacks and a lot of these people go?
It's a real challenge. It's funny as shit to think about all these guys and why they're leaving. You get Aidan Chiles leaves because Jonathan Smith wasn't a good coach and things collapsed there. DJ Lagway transfers because things didn't work with Billy Napier and everything was put on his shoulders. Dylan Raiola leaves because he's better than what Matt Rule's got on the table. And Bryce Underwood has to leave because his coach was too busy gooning to actually make sure
you're going with gooning.
To make sure that he was actually learning how to play the position. I mean, all the issues that he had in his development, it makes a lot of sense now because he had a pervert as his head coach. Oh my God. I'm just saying. Look, Underwood, you make a good point here. You make up a really good point here. He would be the best quarterback on the market no matter what, because he showed signs. He's one of the greatest quarterback recruits that has ever been signed, that we've ever seen. And he showed that he's capable of it. Don't waste, I'm sorry to say this for Michigan fans, but don't waste your time. Don't waste your time, Bryce, if you think
Joe DeLeone from the top rope. Calling Jerome Moore a pervert.
Is he not? Is he not? I would argue that that's quite perverted the way that he was acting. Was it, unless I'm misquoting it, wasn't he DMing that OnlyFans model during the national championship, or was it before?
I think it was a little bit before, but also was asking for a three-way. A threesome.
He's a pervert.
One thing, that's not maybe the verb I'd go for. Horny would probably be the verb that I was going for. My man was horny.
I don't think you're familiar with the term gooning. I don't think that you're as.
Oh, no, I'm very familiar with the term gooning. I just didn't expect it coming from your white ass. That is for sure. I do think Bryce Underwood says it. Here's another one. Did you hear Trinidad Chambliss today?
No, what did he say?
I don't know if he ain't going in the portal his damn self, but we'll see. All right. Let's move on here. Joe, it is time for both of us to place our bets, not literally on this show exactly, with our good friends over at FanDuel, though. It's time to make our national title picks. I kick it off to you. The field of 12 is set. We have a playoff run. It starts this week. Who do you think is going to win the national title this year?
Blake, I have not wavered on this, and anyone who's been listening to the show since the bracket was revealed, and heck, even before that, probably can guess where I'm going to go. It's Georgia. On FanDuel, plus 600 odds. They have the third best odds, which makes no sense to me. Blake, I look at this Georgia team, and I'm going to have to repeat something I've said like 100 times now. They're the hottest team in college football. They're the hottest team in college football at the current moment. They, out of all these teams, and I get it, what Indiana did was impressive. And, you know, Ohio State, we can't call them the hottest because they lost their last game of the year. Texas Tech has been awfully commanding with the way that they've dominated their schedule. Plain and simple, for the way that this Georgia defense is playing, makes them the team to beat in my eyes. Here is the stretch of P4 opponents and what they were able to accomplish against these teams. 209 total yards given up to Bama, 3 sacks that they produced. Georgia Tech, 250 total yards of offense that they gave up, 1 sack in that game. Texas, 274 total yards, 3 sacks. Mississippi State was the worst game in this stretch, 322 and 3 sacks. They have become one of the best defenses in the country now that they've figured out their issue with their pass rush. And on the offensive side of the ball, they have exactly what they need if they can get their offensive line back on the field and there is no major health issues, which could catch up to them. They run the ball better than a lot of the teams in the playoff field. They've got a quarterback who's constantly overlooked, and they've got a lot of speed at receiver. They have everything that I look for in a national champion. I am buying in. I am placing that bet at plus 600 on FanDuel for all of those reasons.
All right. Well, we have, for the first time in history, we both have the same national title pick here. Now, I picked 2 because I think that we're on a collision course, and I've been saying this for weeks, or now the last 10 days. I think this comes down to Indiana or Georgia. I look at Georgia in their side of the bracket. You'd have to go through Ole Miss. You'd have to go through the winner of A&M, Miami, or Ohio State. I think that they're the most difficult matchup for all of those teams that they can play. They're clearly, I think, in a rematch could quite frankly do what we saw against Alabama the second time. Now, Bama is getting healthy. Remember, we talked about that when we talk about Darkhorses here in just a minute. I look at the entire situation with Georgia. You've been running the ball very well. You've been stopping the run very well. What I think people look at Georgia and don't realize, Joe, they had 5-star after 5-star in their DB room that were first-time starters. So when the first time that they go up against Tennessee and Chris Bradwell's out there, who also just declared for the draft going to be a high pick, they were lost, and they didn't know what to do, and they couldn't rush the passer. They're rushing 3. They're dropping 8. They don't know what to do, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the season, literally halfway through their season, they go up against Ole Miss, and the same thing kept plaguing them. Man, our DB room, what is going on here? And all of a sudden, the light switched. In the fourth quarter, when their season felt like to be on the line, something clicked. Ole Miss is beating you, and something clicks in the fourth quarter, and you hold Trinidad Chambliss, and you beat a playoff team. They have been rolling since that fourth quarter of Ole Miss. My question will be, have you gotten too hot a little too early? Can you continue to sustain some of this that you've been doing? Now, you're also going to be allowed to get healthy here. You're not playing until later in the year, or really the new year, literally. You got a little bit more than a month, or right around a month, to get healthy here. That offensive line has not been healthy all season, and they've physically imposed their will against really good front sevens. The thing that I'm going to need to see here is when you go up against Ohio State, when you go up against A&M, I think that those are the two teams that can give you the most issues because they can get vertical on you and they can get vertical on you quickly. But if you're able to sustain that, I think the matchup with Indiana is the Indiana does not possess the team that I think would scare me the most. The team that would scare me the most if I'm Georgia right now is Ohio State because of the boundary. If you can accomplish that, then I think that you're sitting in a driver's seat. But here's the thing that I look at Georgia and say, I think that you're more tested than anybody on your side of the bracket. They have gone, literally with strength of schedule, they have gone through more. And they've gotten better every single week because of it. It's not the X's and O's. I say it's not really the Jimmies and Joes, but it is the Jimmies and Joes getting better in the back end. But I just feel like I've seen a team that's clicked. However, I say all of that. They may be 1A for me. 1B is Indiana. Oh, my God, Blake Ruffino talking great stuff about Indiana? Yes, because of where they are. Now, Joe, I almost kind of put 1B in here as Oregon. But I'm going to need to see Oregon and Dan Lanning actually win the game that gets them there. As of right now, Indiana is another team in their front seven that can do it. I think both of them, and you and I have talked about this for last month off air. We brought it in here 10 days ago. I think Indiana and Georgia have just been on a collision course. And I'm going to keep saying it. The one thing that worries me about Georgia is when they need to get vertical. They've had issues getting vertical. Can they start getting a little bit more vertical in their passing game, which does worry me a little?
I think if I did want to pitch a second team here, because you just pitched yours, you brought up the second team that I like.
Oregon?
It's Oregon. The other side of the bracket is really interesting to produce a very unique national championship. I think that there's a really good chance, Blake, that we end up looking at the Georgia-Ohio State game like we did a few years ago as, man, that felt like the national championship. I'm not implying that there's going to be a blowout the following game, but I feel like there's a really strong chance that we'll be sitting and thinking to ourselves, wow, that really was an intense game. That was a really, really crazy game. It felt like they left everything on the field. It was also the same thing with the Texas game we said last year. We said the same exact thing. That felt like that was the national championship. And lo and behold, the national title between Notre Dame and Ohio State wasn't a blowout, but it wasn't as tight as
Texas definitely gave them more of a run for their money
than Notre Dame did.
Right.
For me, Oregon, I think that the most intriguing part about their path, because this is what comes down to all of it. We can sit here and talk about this team's good, that team's good. Who do you have to face? Who can you beat along the way to get to a national championship? Getting a rematch with Indiana potentially has my attention because I really think, as we say 100 times over, beating a good team twice is very hard to do. And I think that Dan Lanning is the type of coach that's going to be able to sneak up on Indiana. But the one thing that hurts them, and the one thing I'd be the most worried about, they're one of the most depleted teams in terms of coordinators. Both of their coordinators took new jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So Cal job took the Kentucky job. I don't know how distracted they're going to be. I don't know how they're.
Nick Saban's done it before.
But that's
Nick Saban actually did it in his first national title run.
In all seriousness, though, like let's look at last year's national champions. There was no coordinator movement until after the
I mean,
that was to the NFL. Those guys that left.
Yeah, but Al Golden, we were talking about Al Golden going to the NFL like right around the time of the national title.
But it wasn't confirmed until after, and it was speculated. The same thing with Chip Kelly. It was speculated.
I get what you're saying, but here's the thing with Oregon that I would just throw in there. Evan Stewart was back at practice today. DK Moore was back at practice today. Somebody's getting healthy. Again, you get to play James Madison. Do you get Evan Stewart a couple of reps just as if he's at practice? I mean, what do you do there? I don't know. All right, Joe, as we move on here, let's go to our dark horses. I kick it off to you first. These are teams that are in the 6th seed or lower that Joe and I think that could win the national title here. Is there a dark horse in the field? Like last year, you look at Ohio State. If we would have done this segment last year, we basically made this segment all about Ohio State because they were an 8th seed. They won it all. Is there a team that you think that could be a dark horse that can make a run like Ohio State did last year and win a national title?
Well, by the way, anyone who remembers last year when we talked about Ohio State, we spoke pretty emphatically saying, hey, they have the best path and they have the ability to bounce back from the Michigan game. They go and win a title, and that was what came to fruition. There is a team that has a lot of similarities to that. Now, I don't think that I'm going to sit here and speak as excitedly as we did about Ohio State because there were a lot of different things going on with that Ohio State team, but there are similarities, and that's Texas A&M. You lose to your rival last game of the season. You're putting together a special year. You're expecting to go to the conference championship game, and you lose in embarrassing fashion. You don't get dominated, but you lose a game by multiple scores in a setting where it felt like you were marching towards really, really capping off your year with a memorable moment. Instead, you watched Alabama get their asses kicked in the SEC championship game while you sat at home. I think that if they can internalize that, they are the team that could really sneak up on everyone. I don't think that this is a very creative pick. I've seen it elsewhere. A lot of people are talking about Texas A&M because they've got speed at receiver. They've got the best receiving duo outside of Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate in this playoff field.
Yes.
They have a really good running back room that they can command the line of scrimmage. They've got arguably, I would say, the best offensive line in the playoff field at the current moment. Their D-line's good. They have the one weakness at defending the run and giving up big plays on the ground. Blake, I think that is fixable, as we talked about in their preview. I think that their issue with Marcel Reed turning the ball over is fixable because we've seen him play really good football. If they can clean up in those two areas, there's no reason why they can't win a national championship.
You ready to yell at me?
Oh, no.
Are you ready to yell at me?
What are you going to say?
My dark horse team to potentially win a national title, where I do think it's unrealistic. I am not picking this to happen. But the segment is, who is a team that could be a dark horse that comes out of nowhere that wins this thing? It's the University of Alabama. Because LT Overton is back. They have 2 depth pieces along their interior defensive line that are back. They get multiple depth pieces back offensively. Oh, by the way, Cuevas is back. Jam Miller is going to be back. And I look at this and say, all right, well, Ryan Williams has how long to get ready? You brought up that A&M has the best wide receiver core not named Ohio State. I agree with that. But they're still a really good one. And I look at Alabama versus Oklahoma, and you just mentioned this earlier. It's really tough to beat a good team twice. And I look at their path with Oklahoma as an example. Joe, I'm not really a big fan of Oklahoma either, offensively. Like, this might be a 17-14 game that Alabama, if they just play the exact same way that they're doing, could win it. If they don't change a damn thing, they could still win it. John Mateer threw 3 interceptions versus LSU the last time we saw him. I mean, Alabama hasn't had a problem defensively. It's been on offense where they've been a little bit chaotic. I wonder, after everything that they just have went through, their head coach, oh, man, he's going to Michigan. Well, he makes a statement not only yesterday, but comes back out again today and says, I am going to be the head coach of Alabama in 2026. If this team is going to get healthy with the path that they have, not saying that they're the best overall team, but the path that they have, I ironically think that they match up with Indiana really well. I do. I think they match up with Indiana better than most, because the one thing that Ty Simpson has not had an issue with this year is eating up zone coverage. It's when they've been able to go man and send pressure after him where there have been issues. Can their interior offensive line hold on long enough? I think that Joe, I'm just going to be real with you. I'm taking them to beat Oklahoma. I think the third time is the charm here. A lot like what just happened to them against Georgia. I think if there's any team that I look at matchup based, you get past Indiana, you get past Oregon, by God, you can win the whole damn thing. Again, as I started this off, I'm not picking it to happen, but I look at them and where they're at currently and just say, if we're going to a team that's lower than 6, I don't think Oklahoma can win it. And to be blunt with you, I look at Ole Miss, I look at A&M, and I look at Miami, and I'm just saying, is A&M going to get past Miami, Ohio State, and Georgia? I just don't find it to be realistic. But if you told me that Alabama could get past Indiana, could get past Oregon, I think that that's easier. I just feel like that's much easier to accomplish than what other teams on the other side of the bracket would have to overcome.
Okay, here's my only thing. We talk about this actually with Miami, by the way. We framed it as if you can find the old version of yourself, and it's in there. Absolutely in there. You can get to a national championship.
Yes.
But I feel like the two problems that they have right now are not necessarily truly injury related. I think that they were accentuated by the injuries that they had.
I agree.
And it's their inability right now to protect Ty Simpson when opposing defenses are sending ridiculous amounts of heat, and their inability to run the ball. I have a lot of fear. If you can't run the ball for as long as they haven't been able to run the ball, it ain't just clicking out of nowhere.
Yeah, you're right.
Unless something is found that we don't know about. A layer. I believe Jay Miller is coming back to practice this week, which is pretty big. I just think that their problems dealing with those are a little too insurmountable.
Yeah, I don't think they can get past Indiana. Again, this is a hypothetical segment. I mean, but Joe, for A&M to go past Miami, Ohio State, and Georgia, I mean, A&M would essentially have to go through the SEC winner, all right, let me back up. If A&M wins the national title, they're going to have to go against the most talented team in the ACC, the Big Ten runner-up in Ohio State, which might still be the most talented team in the country, the SEC champion, and the Georgia Bulldogs, and then Indiana. Again, potentially. Like, if we're just forecasting. Brother, if they do that, whoo-wee.
It would require a lot. It would require a lot to put it simple.
Can I tell you what I would say? That means that the best quarterback in the country when it mattered was Marcel Reed. There's no way you're overcoming all of that and dude doesn't go off.
But he's capable of it. He was in the Heisman conversation at one point.
He very much is. I'm just saying, though, Joe, to be blunt with you, I think Indiana and Ohio State both can be clippable. Like, I 100% can see Indiana falling this year to somebody, whether it be Oregon, whether it could be Oklahoma or Alabama. They can get clipped. Oh, they 1,000% can get clipped. Same with Georgia. They already have been clipped. There's no team that's invincible. You're going to have to start hitting on all of their weaknesses. Can Marcel Reed not turn the ball over? He's been scaring the shit out of me.
Yeah, that's the biggest piece with all this is I think that even if your run defense plays a little bit better, his turnovers in the last few games have just come at the worst.
Just the last month in November, they've been horrendous. Yeah. All right, Elks with a $5 super chat says Raiola on school number 7 in 6 years. Also, Ohio State back-to-back. I don't know if y'all saw Jeremiah's tweet, but they done pissed him off, and he's saying disrespected at Heisman. He wasn't disrespected at the Heisman. He had a chance.
He was banged up.
No, you had a chance to win the Heisman. You got to beat Indiana.
That's a good point.
He
he had a great game against Indiana.
It's very difficult to win back-to-back national titles. I think Indiana laid a blueprint of how to beat you. And you also got to find a run game. Hold on. Alex, I love you to death. I really do. But having this invisible complex coming off of a loss, I got to be real with you. You can't run the ball right now. You
especially against teams with good fronts, and you're going to be facing a lot of teams with good fronts. It could really hurt you.
You better hope to God Ole Miss finds a way. They're not going to.
It's your best chance.
Alex says members only live streams after playoff games. No, we're not doing that.
Right? Yeah, probably not. Just the only reason why is the membership count. We've got a lot of really good members that have joined the Discord and everything. It's not high enough yet for what we're looking for to do members only content. But yeah, just doing it after the playoff game. We're just going to do instant reactions after the games happen, and we're going to put those things out after the games finish.
Right. Buck with a $2 super chat says Legend Bay is a Buckeye on top of Georgia for 5 rec class.
I don't know what the last part means, but I'm glad that the Legend Bay thing seems to be kind of rectified. He gets out of his NLI. I felt terrible for that kid. It was just such a messy situation.
Remind me of what happened there.
I forget which school that was the one that he wanted to go to, but essentially his family intervened and sent in his NLI to a different school and then took his phone away and took his social media accounts away. And he publicly posted like, I'm about to lose my social media accounts, everybody. We'll see what happens.
Jesus, man.
And yeah, it was pretty bad. It was a recruiting nightmare.
Parents got to get out of the way. They also $2 super chat says Lagway Raiola saying one is not like the others. This dude doesn't think Ohio State does anything.
Dude. Well, okay. You also have to admit here. Well, Sayin also transferred, so they similar in that regard.
Yeah,
but
he was going to Bama with Saban.
But like, let's be straight with ourselves here. Sayin went to Ohio State with an already established culture. DJ Lagway tried to take on resurrecting Florida when it was a shit show. Mm-hmm. And the same thing for Dylan Raiola. Yeah, that's what's different.
And you have Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate.
I would argue saying pick the easiest option. Now I'm obviously saying that in jest, and I'm trying to be
picked the easiest option.
He had the easiest option available.
Right. Lions with a $5 super chat says I'm not awed by Lagway, but if he's not feeling the new coach, the kid knows his value, time to bounce and be guaranteed playing time and money. I mean, I think it's going to rub people the wrong way that they said, hey man, go out there and compete, and he leaves. I mean, whether you believe that or not, I mean, it's just what happened.
I get your perspective on that, and I'm not going to like completely say that it's irrational, because you're right that I know how coaches and front office people operate in these conversations. But at the same time, I do sit on the side when there's so many teams and so many need starters. Take the one that's telling you, hey, here's the same amount of money you were just making and a guaranteed starting job.
Agreed. I mean, shit, he can go to James Madison and absolutely go crazy with Billy.
That would be funny.
With $10 super chat says, I got Ohio State revenge tour 2.0, lifting it again, throw the damn ball to Smith. Defense is elite.
Look, it's not like that's not possible. I think that if they beat Georgia, it's going to come down to the Georgia game, obviously. I think that whoever wins the Georgia-Ohio State game wins the national title.
Yeah, very possible. Alex says, RG Glover arrested for shoplifting.
I didn't read up on this much, but yeah.
That might be the biggest fearful thing that any of you could see, because the last time Georgia players started getting arrested, they started beating the shit out of everybody.
That's a good point.
You better wish they were at Bible study.
That's crazy.
Alex says, I'm talking about he had one reporter.
Wait, that was Sayin, not Jeremiah Smith. That's what I'm confused. Oh, I'm understanding now. I mixed up. Yeah, I mean, I did see that there was one guy there. I don't know. Maybe Sayin's not an interesting.
He was fourth in the picks.
Yeah, that's the other.
Diego Pavia was there. Which, by
the way,
also
hold on. He's also going to be there next year. He's going to be there next year.
I had to step away when you talked about Pavia.
Yeah,
dude, what a joke.
Oh, he's an ass.
He's a complete asshole. That's why people don't like you. They don't like the arrogance. You're not that fucking
further
good.
than that. He
Well,
went a
hold
step further than that.
He's a good college quarterback, but you act like that you're the next Peyton Manning. Like he was asked, I don't know if you saw this, but he was asked about who are some of the best players in college football, and he said himself.
Well, no, you're misquoting that partially. They gave him a bracket, and they asked him to pick the winner between two players. Like, who would you
good
pick?
Lord.
And he said himself, he didn't understand how to answer it. Yeah. Not a fan.
I mean, his mom was twerking on the stadium steps. So, I mean, Tegra isn't playing. Tickle, my pickle fan Tickle was starting. We started running after lazy. Tegra got benched.
Tegra was not very good.
Elks, I love you to death, but you can go to any AYS show of me talking shit about LSU and what they don't do and don't do well. You got to start looking at, take the glasses off, my man. Take the scarlet and red glasses off.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, support your team, man. I will.
Goodness gracious, you cannot run the ball effectively. All right, see you tomorrow. Peace.